Alright, so Japanese game this time. A bit of a different style than the previous game. Stop me when you could identify what's different between them. So again, we're opening normally because professionals typically aren't in the habit of playing really, really crazy. That's not it. Not doing cross positions. Black plays an interesting 3-4 point. If this was Chinese or Korean game, we would almost always expect this now to be played over here unless we were going for the low Chinese. So immediately I'm thinking, okay, maybe Kobayashi is going to set up a Chinese Fuseki for himself. And then instead we see him approaching, threatening a Kobayashi Fuseki. Indeed, indeed. But White makes an interesting decision. He says, no, Kobayashi, you cannot have Kobayashi. I am going to pincer you instead. So, looks like we're getting into a bit of a fight here. Alright. Now, yep, still seems normal. True, 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 true. Immediately, some ideas that spring to mind are 3-3, change direction, or even enclose. Enclosing can be fun as well, because you make yourself a nice strong position. If White kicks F3, then we're getting strong there, so we're getting stronger with our F3 stone. We're strong in the corner. We've got this J4 stone kind of in between, and as long as you think you can fight on par with your opponent, it should go fairly well. Yeah, there you go, Robert. Fighting on par with your opponent is a very, very important part of that sentence. Unless they're going to give it up. I'm going to actually go into this. This is actually getting to be fairly lengthy. In the game, he changes direction, but let's say he does that. You can also theoretically choose to simply give it up. Split your opponent. Maybe try and get this in later to try to over-concentrate his corner. Make him spend a bunch of moves trying to kill one stone. That could be playable too. Don't have to come out just because you're kicked, I suppose. But alright. Black changes directions. White attaches. Black goes into the 3-3. Now White has a decision to make here. How does he want to develop? He can block down or he can block left. Just a question of which way we want to develop. Black blocks this way, or White blocks this way, sorry. E3 is probably best. I'm guessing he probably rejected this because he doesn't like L3 still there. Then we're going to have to, spend another move. Now we're clearly over-concentrated. Endgame is going to really annoy us, and we're going to take that, and suddenly we kind of just want to hand in our pro certificate. So, yeah. I'm guessing that was his thought process. Probably completely wrong on it, but I'm going to go with that. Instead, he makes a nice solid wall here. We see Chiseki. And he uses his wall immediately. So, right away, few interesting choices. White has decided that he's going to play an influential game. Black is apparently playing a territorial game. Black makes the exchange. Alright, USF, you're quite correct. This is rather peaceful. This is rather peaceful. But it's getting even more different than the previous one. But Black has Sente. White's trying to build up. So he approaches. Sometimes, yeah. Now this is a bit of an interesting move. This is very telling. This is white saying, I don't care what happens in my corner. I want to make myself stronger here. I want to expand in the left. It's a little bit slow, though. We can still extend with a 2 space. We can still go into the corner. So we have options here. If we attach, we are forcing a variation in which we're playing this way. Immediately helps black settle. Develops here, leaves the cut point behind. This develops, doesn't strengthen black. Black has to strengthen himself all by himself. If black doesn't make a framework, like the Chinese, for example, which he does in the game, if he does it 2 space, then we might be able to even continue expanding off of this. Might be interesting to do later. If black answers this by attaching, then we can get some more strength here. So essentially, it seems that white wants to expand this, but he wants to leave options open. He doesn't want to attach and just pick a Joseki. But black says, forget that. I'm going to make the low Chinese variation, or low Chinese Joseki here. And white's response to this is this. Now we clearly know. Yes, now we clearly know that we're seeing 2 very different players from last game. Last game it was all about finding weak groups, and it is a very calm move. This game, we're building up, we're going to strengthen what we're building up, and we're going to keep building up from that. Because right now, for example, go away, we do have annoying Aji here. I mean, there's a double Hane here. We still have a lot of Aji remaining with this and running away, things of that nature. This is saying my cut point not going to be so much of a problem anymore. And I've also capped C6 in case it wants to run out. So it's doing a couple of things at once. Unfortunately, it's doing it in Gote. So what is black going to do? He's going to protect himself. There's only one thing weak on the board right now. That's this stone that we have not defended, even though our opponent responded. So he's going to defend himself. Oops. Sorry about that. Those of you who are watching the stream later. Right, so black defends himself. So what is white going to do now? What do you think? Black's trying to strengthen himself on the board. He's got a framework here. What do you think? Time to approach? Time to reduce? Approach the 3-4 bottom stone. Okay, what do we got? We have invasions, invade from the side, invade the 3-3. But we have everyone essentially screaming to do something about the framework. White says, right, nice framework. Mine's better. And he expands. Not something I would have done. I sometimes play for influence, but I don't play for influence like this. I prefer playing for influence from fighting. If I get influence, it'll be because I traded something in a fight. Here we see him using his Sente moves to keep developing in Gote, essentially. So let's see how this turns out. Black says, okay, I guess I'll keep taking my 4th line territory. No problem with that. Indeed, Robert. Now we're going to invade. We can only build up so long. We can't build up any farther. These are our outer stones. We've got it nice and... Ew. Not Tengen. These are our outer markers where we're trying to... Everything listed this we're trying to get for ourselves territorially. So now we can... Because of these two stones. We can't really expand far enough behind it. Or far enough outside to make it worthwhile. I mean, we can do one... I'll go back to this. We can do a 1-point jump, for example, but if you look at the difference, we're trying to get maybe an extra line of territory here, but that's way too small, because our opponent's just going to solidify himself, start taking territory. More territory, rather. So he plays this. Nice little invasion. Black blocks. And chooses an interesting variation. He could extend, and he could double Hane. He chooses to go and pick this one, which is going to Hane from behind. White plays the Hane to respond. He's living in the corner here. And then goes back and double Hane. White can make the exchange to escape if he wants, but there's a lot of Aji here in his position. So white cuts, and black connects. Takes. And essentially this is what he was trading. He was giving up another stone in exchange for a little bit more on the outside is what he was offering. He wants this nicely secured in the center. He wants nice influence around the corner. Unfortunately, it leaves a bit of a weakness behind, which white tries to exploit immediately. And now we have complication. Because white is now saying, I'm going to get something here regardless of what you want. So Atari. And Atari again, because we can't take. White cannot take that, it would be instant resign. He has no choice but to extend. White again has to respond, otherwise corner's going to die. But as long as that's alive, we don't have to worry about the cut at our 13. So black goes back in Atari. And then strengthens himself. So now he has a target. He's got this stone in the sun, these group in the middle, which is exactly one eye. We can all read that that has one eye. So white will have to defend it. And white does so. Takes some 5th line territory from himself. White continues his never-ending cease of trying to get some influence. Black takes a large point, threatening to surround those stones again. Forces white to defend. Again, attacks because we're trying to both expand our right-hand side and get in at the same time. White defends. Black defends. And finally, white is okay. White has managed to get out to safety. He's he's enhanced his area of influence a little bit. Starting to make a little bit more in the middle. There are some weak points with the shape, though, so black pokes him immediately. White has to choose how he's going to defend. Obviously, he doesn't want that cutting stone coming back to life, so we're going to kill that first. Which allows black to threaten to connect. Can't allow black to come in from here, so we have to defend as well. This is pretty much everything. Trouble with playing this way is it's really putting everything in one area. I mean, you know what you're getting, you know what your opponent knows what you're getting. So all he has to be concerned with is how to reduce this one area. That's it. Whereas if we have territory like black has, then white has to think about, you know, how are we going to handle the right? Are there any force moves against the top? What's the corner going to do? So I usually find it a little bit easier to be in black's position than in white's. Because, I mean, all you have to do is just reduce him. Reduce him, and it's over. So black connects up. Comes on in. Black happily marches around. It's like, okay, I'll reduce this area, that's fine. Forces white back to 4th line. That's a nice little success in and of itself. The options were bad, essentially. What else are you going to do here? Because you have to protect that cut point. You don't want your opponent suddenly trying to get, what's that, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th line for himself by allowing that L11 cut point to live. So we got to be very careful with that. We can't do this, for example. That's too much. Now white's threatening just as much, if not more, than what white's threatening to get. So we do not like this. If we defend in Gote, we could do that, but now where is black going to go? Is black going to go over here and threaten the 2 stones? Okay, we're still going to fall back, but now we have absolutely no control of white. So he's going to just keep jumping around and making light shape, and the middle is going to be kind of torn to nothing. So instead, white pushes a bit to make a wall for himself. That way he can still develop the center, while not losing the 4th line on the left-hand side. So it's a bit of a nice decision. Black says, that's some mighty fine 4th line territory you got there. Now I want your corner. Again, not much white can do. Has to let it connect. If we block the other way, then why did we just play this? That's not good. That's not good at all. So black gets to connect for some impressive territory on top of the board. And at this point, I'm probably not going to win with just trying to develop that center bit right now. If we try to play a large move on the bottom of the board or something in the center to try to secure that, we're so going to lose. I mean, black's top is very large, the right is becoming large, we've got solid 4th line for white on the left, the middle is still open, we can't secure it, so where's the next largest point? 04, force the enclosure, try and develop the middle, could do it, but the 3-4 is still completely open. And now that we're strong in the middle, we have no problem with trying to get that out of there into safety or whatever else we want to do with it. So white says, I'm playing here. Similar ideas to last game, though. If black attaches, then white might get a wall, which will probably work well with the middle. So we have to be kind of careful about our responses. Or, as black does, we could simply just attach and allow the wall to take place. Give him exactly what he wants, and still try and win the game. Very Lee Cheng-ho style. Old style, sorry. So white tries to get some influence here. We go for a little bit of a small avalanche. I don't see a lot of small avalanche play, though. This is interesting. Normal Joseki so far for small avalanche. Right, defend, cut point, yep. Essentially, white knows his Joseki very well. All he wants... Oops, sorry, not that, my bad. Bye-bye, tree. All white wants is... Yep, tree's gone again. All white wants is that extra influence. So instead of extending this move, which would probably have been very... what's a polite word to use there? Very special. Very special. We could run away this stone to nowhere. That would be special. Instead, he's going to extend and force black to kill it off. Which is exactly what we see here. Black's getting rid of the algae and developing a wall. Was the corner not dead? Where? Here? Or here? Because if we do this now, you know... Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I get what you're saying now. You're not saying that white could have still lived. You're saying, why did black go back and play this? Not that move. That was... Oh no, I ruined the tree again, didn't I? Oh well. Why did black go back and play this move here at S2 when it's already dead? I see what you're saying. Couple of things about this. If we do that, let's say we take this stone instead. This does become Sente. Pretty good Sente for white too. Getting all of these happy forcing moves. So this is clearly large for white to get in. If we get rid of that, and then he turns, then we can just say, well, I don't care about that, I'm going to jump in. But we can't have this kind of reduction in place unless we have S2 available. So that's taken care of. O2 is no longer Sente. Black can push in from there. White is trying to develop a very huge center. And again, I want to emphasize, this is very, very different than our previous game. Because we see white just trying to do everything he can to develop the left-hand side, including giving up stones. Because he wants to keep trying to take as much of the center as possible, and he's going to do it by trying to play solidly, and even playing Gote points. Playing those large Gote moves, rather than the fighting game that we saw earlier. And this, to me, is a very clear difference between Chinese and Korean styles and what I typically think of as Japanese style play. But alright, white's trying to develop, so again, black's going to try to reduce. Can't really go very far with that, so black's going to just keep poking. And keep poking. This is one of the reasons why it's difficult to actually play this way, because there are so many different pokes here going on. that white finds himself having to respond to if he wants to keep all of this. And usually it's a bad thing, because there are just so many ways to reduce that you just can't really keep up with it all. You find yourself with a very, very tiny area in the end of the game. What do we have here? What did I miss? Ah, yes, here we go. White ignores in order to threaten to reduce. Black responds. Getting some larger endgame. But yeah, predominantly we are in endgame at this point, because nothing's really going to be made weak anymore. Everything's pretty much connected, everything's pretty much alive. Now it's just who has better endgame. And again, we see white giving up a bit in order to make sure that he's got as much on the bottom as possible, and in the middle as possible. Because if we went and responded to this, and I don't know, really no other way to respond to it. If we play here, we're still cut. If we play here to keep connected, then we're allowing variations like this, in which now black might just be able to push on through. That's not good. So this is a fairly good sequence by black. White has no option but to say, okay, fine, you got me. Those are yours now. So black keeps poking. If I can find the next move. Alright. White takes. White defends. Again for endgame. Pretty large corner there for black now. To go along the top side. Pretty close game too. Though that is in part because I'm cheating and I know who wins, that I can actually say that. Usually I'm a bit more uncertain with my counting. What was I about to do? Right. I see. Well, it is definitely a large group of stones. 2, 4, 6, 7 in the lower right-hand corner. To keep getting that middle influence. I mean, that's something that we are... I don't want to say never, but I'm going to go ahead and say never. Probably not going to see from a Chinese or Korean player. It's just not their style. It was a calculated loss there, Robert. Anyway, back to endgame. More push, push, push. White responds with endgame of his own. But this is worth even more because there's way too many cut points here. Has to defend, otherwise something's going to die. This is the largest area territory, so threatens to come in. Has to respond, otherwise there goes all of our points. Now he responds. That's something that I find hard to do as well. I mean, I would probably find this, because I know, sure, I can kill something if he tries to keep reducing me. This one's a little bit more difficult. It's like, yeah, he's going to reduce me, I'm going to reduce him, and now I have to count and figure out who's reducing who more. So black's got some reasonable endgame here. But so does white. Easy forcing moves. Again with Sente. Important stones. Black threatens to come on in. Can't allow that to happen. Poke, 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 poke. Some more poking. Again with more poking. That's pretty much what Endgame is. Just a series of minor annoyances. There are many cut points, yes. And you can see how many moves that White's actually having to spend in the center just to keep all that territory. That's why most people regard this as a very risky style, because you find yourself having to protect so many different points that, again, usually you're reduced a lot, so the amount of territory you have in the middle is not typically as large as you think it's going to be. And then you're going to protect all of these cut points and have it shrink even more. But White's got some good endgame. Poke. Force capture. While still maintaining co-threads, for example. Probably not going to have one. Well, it might have one in the upper left-hand corner, I suppose. Some points there for White. Reduce those a bit. Definitely don't want to be captured there, so let's respond. White gets rid of the last point there. Ko in the corner. Many Ko threats in the center, as we all know. That lower right really kept him alive. Too many for black. Can't fight it, so that fight's going to be lost as well. And now we have the end of the game. So the question then becomes, who actually won? And if we go to our scoring tool, we see that despite that which was given up, White is actually ahead. So very unusual style, but still managed to win. Well, you can see the score on your game right there. Points are under their names now. Indeed, black won the Ko, and that is important. That is important. Yeah, black wins by white, not black. White wins by 5.5. Oh, it only shows up for the one in control? I'm sorry, I did not notice that. Sorry. I don't usually use the score tool. It really doesn't? It only shows for the one in control? That is a really silly feature. Should show it for everyone. Anyway, two clearly different styles of game. A very aggressive uh, Chinese-Korean game, and completely spinning around and just playing a bit of an influence game here. Yeah, that's why it's 6.5, because he has to connect, he has to fill. The score estimator just doesn't take that into account. So there you go, 2 interesting games there for you. I hope you enjoyed them both. We will have our usual lecture tomorrow,